Had a flashback last night, just for a moment, as the coverage came back from an ad. The crowd noise, the instruments, the vibe. I was suddenly back to 1995 watching Australia beat the West Indies for the first time in ages, and it just felt alive. It was really, really cool. Welcome to my summary of day 3 of the second test match between the West Indies and Australia in St George's, Grenada. And the crowd, according to Ian Bishop, was almost 5,000, which doesn't sound very much. And there's probably 1,500 or so Australians, but probably, let's say, 3,000 locals. The entire population of the island nation of Grenada is only about 120,000. So percentage-wise, it was actually a really good crowd. Another absorbing day's cricket, frustrating with rain delays, but let's get into it. Australia began 2 for 12, leading by 45. Night watchman Nathan Lyon was there with Cameron Green. Pretty cautious start, then there was a rain delay. Eventually they came back on, and finally the West Indies got rid of Nathan Lyon. He was out off the bowling of Alzarri Joseph, caught by John Campbell for 8. He soaked up 33 balls in doing so. Smith came out and got wrapped on his sore finger straight away, which was a bit of a concern. The physio came out, and that was another feature of the day. The pitch certainly has continued to have up and down movement. Not every ball, and it's not diabolical, but there are plenty that do a fair bit. Smith was magnificent. Right from the start, he looked like he was playing on a slightly different pitch to everybody else. In and around some difficult balls, he played some crisp drives. He clamped down on the balls that kept low. He really does look to be every bit right back to his very best over these last few months. And again, the conversation turns to, is he the second greatest batter of all time? I think that the West Indies their bowling was good but not great, I'd say, for a lot of this day, where Warner used to go on about it, but that sides would bowl pretty well, realised that a wicket hadn't occurred and changed their plans too quickly, not sort of accommodating for the fact that Test cricket is such a long game. And if you keep applying pressure, variable bounce and natural variation will eventually be your friend. They're a little bit too short, a little bit too wide, a little bit too defensive in their field placings. But as I said, not terrible. But by lunch, Green and Smith had moved the score along to 3 for 69, a lead of 102. And Cameron Green was 31 not out, working very hard, a little bit more industrious than he'd been in the first test match. I'd still like him to be playing a few more shots, but he was looking actually pretty good. And after lunch, there was an extended delay for rain. When they eventually came back on, there was a ball change. Green crept into the 40s. At this point, he had a succession of balls where the ball was beating the bat. Then eventually he brought up his 50 with a sumptuous straight drive. 52 from 122 balls. His 123rd, he chopped on, and he was visibly frustrated after having done all that hard work, but that's the nature of the pitch. It just did keep a little bit low. Travis Head came in and straight away was his typical self, scoring at about a run a ball. Meanwhile, Smith brought up his 50 from just 79 balls. Sensational innings, just a pure classy innings. And he's punctuating with the occasional audacious shot. Graves came on, Smith advances and crashes him over mid-on for 4. The spinner came on and Steve Smith smashed him over long off for 6, batting brilliantly. And at tee, Head had raced to 26 off 24. By tee, the lead was 208. It looked a bit worrying for the West Indies at that point. I already thought they actually had enough by that stage, the Australians. That lead is going to be very hard to stop. But there was a few overs where there were too many easy singles, and it looked like the West Indies were on the back foot. Then, completely against the run of play, Graves has come on, hits Steve Smith with one that kind of jagged back a little bit and kept a little bit low, and the umpire, Holdstock, gave him out straight away. And Steve Smith actually had to say, what am I out for? He really didn't have much of a clue. And I live thought, that's not out, that's definitely going over the top. But actually, it proved to be a good decision. It was umpire's call on impact, but definitely hitting the wicket. So I think it was a fair enough decision. So against the run of play, Smith out for 71. He faced 119 balls. Australia at that stage were 5 for 184. Maybe this series will not see a single batter score a century. And then Webster was out very quickly, driving. They had one slip in. Roston Chase had himself at kind of a third, fourth, fifth slip gully position, and it went right to him. Nice little catch down low, again off the bowling of Graves. Out came Carey, straight away struck on the finger. Again, evidence of the variable bounce, needed a bit of treatment. Beautiful scenes by now because there was a sun shower. It was raining quite heavily, and the commentators are pointing out the pitch did seem to have freshened up a little bit. The rain got heavy enough that they needed to go off for a little bit of a delay. Came back on. Carey and Head, again, steaming to be looked set for a decent partnership. Finally, they brought Shamar Joseph back on, and he clean bowled Head with one that kept a bit low, tail back in, just almost unplayable from around the wicket. Fantastic ball. Head out for 39, and that was that. No, it wasn't. It pretty much was. Australia. There was a ball change, but bad light soon curtailed things. Australia finished up 7 out for 221, a lead of 254. So Cameron Green 52, Steve Smith 71, Travis Head 39, Alex Carey is 26 not out off 27, again playing superbly. Wickets shared around by the West Indians. So a lead of 254. Unless the pitch flattens out, which it's not looking like doing, I think this is already going to be beyond the West Indies in the fourth innings. Let's see if I'm proven wrong. I still think as well maybe the Australians have got a few runs in them. So the big talking point, I suppose, for the day is that Cameron Green at number 3, you wouldn't say that he's now nailed that position down, but it was a very important half century, probably eases the pressure a bit and focuses the pressure a lot more on Constas and Khawaja. I think Australia will go on to win this match, and I think that the selectors will back them in for the third test match. I wouldn't do it. I'd make the call and say, pick your best. And at the moment, I think Labuschagne and Inglis offer better than Constas and Khawaja. And who cares about the future for the Ashes? That's all kind of borderline superstition, worrying about that now. Anyway, that's off of a bit of a tangent. Another absorbing day's play. Australia in front, and I think tomorrow they will go on to win the Frank Worrell Trophy.